when I met you, when you first started coaching, you were like my brother from another mother. And, most people who are coaches didn't grow up to be coaches. Well, first of all, they got to learn how to drive to the office. Mike, what does that mean, COI?
COI, I've heard that quite a bit. It's
Yeah.
centers of influence.
Mike calls it centers of influence. I like to call it center of income. All right. The number one skill of any high producing agent. And it's the number one skill, and
So,
it's management.
welcome to another episode of the Winner's Code. My name is Mike Slacktish, proud owner of Century 21 Signature Properties. We're located in Dallas, Pennsylvania. And really, the purpose of this show is really simple. We want to sit down with some of the top minds, not only in business, in real estate, and discover how they won, uncover some of the leadership principles they've used to create success. And one of the top coaches, I'm going to say, that I have on today is named Tim Connors. Now, Tim, for lack of better words, a little bit of a dinosaur in this industry. Been in real estate since 1989. Been with Coldwell Banker up in Syracuse, so I'm sure it's still snowing there today as of March 12th. So with that, no introduction. With that, I'd like to introduce Tim Connors here to the show. Tim, thank you first and foremost for coming on to the show. Excited to have you here. And we've known each other for now, what, since, my God, 2019.
That long seems like
Yeah.
forever.
And you're still talking to me.
Well, Mike, as I said to you before, you were like when I met you, when you first started coaching, you were like my brother from another mother. And I didn't know that we had such similar backgrounds because I also took real estate courses in college.
Oh, that's interesting. So we've known each other for this period of time, and we never knew that about each other. Literally, that just happened, discovered just this moment in time. Interesting.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
where'd you go to college, Tim?
Have you ever heard of RIT?
I have not. All right,
Rochester
Rochester.
Institute of Tech.
Rochester.
Yeah, very famous school, Rochester Institute of Technology. I went to this lousy state school about 10 miles from there called Brockport.
Okay.
I couldn't
Well,
afford RIT.
one of the things that was very interesting that when we first met, what I discovered about you is how effective you were in coaching. And through the years of being coached and coaching, you realize how difficult it is to coach. And I want to talk to you just quickly about that. So when you look at coaching and you see winners being coached all the time, and you name whether it's baseball, football, whether it's real estate, what is your job as a coach?
Well, a lot of different things in what you just asked there. And most people who are coaches didn't grow up to be coaches. As you know, Mike Ferry invented the coaching industry many, many years ago. So he's like the James Naismith or the Abner Doubleday of coaches, right? And the whole idea of coaching is to, whether it's a sport or whatever it is to have people do a duplicatable and replicatable system. In professional sports, it's how the coach says to do it. In real estate, we can't quite be that demanding of them, so they have to do it in their manner, but we have to get them to change their behaviors. And that's really what it comes down to.
Okay, so when we're talking change in behaviors, let's say you're dealing with somebody who's brand new to the business.
Hmm.
What are some of the first steps that, if you were their coach, that you would be start to introduce to help them and grow quickly in this industry? Because we know as an industry, real estate specific, that they're out of the business. What's the stat? 90% will be out of the business in 5 years.
Yeah,
So,
there's different levels of coaching, right? Like high school, college, professional. And so they're high school level. First thing you need to get for someone like that is to have them to learn what to say. Well, first of all, they got to learn how to drive to the office. Okay. They have to get in the mode of business. They have to get around other people. They have to have a proactive manager. They have to have a proactive training program. And then they have to get their uh, body outside the office, previewing homes, talking to people, uh, right now they're learning, how to talk to people. If you're coaching them, there's no new objections. Just get out there and be fearless in talking with people. And the questions that you can't answer, bring them back to your manager, bring them back to your coach and get those answered.
Interesting, because one of the notes I wrote down was blind faith. So on some level, when you're talking to a new person, how are you discussing that word blind faith? Because they don't know what they don't know. And how are you introducing? Because what you said there was scripts of learning what to say. So
Yeah.
what's the value of that?
As a broker, that the amount of people that make it in our business is so thin, and it's because they can't even get to blind faith, right? We don't know if they have faith or confidence in themselves. We hire people and everyone hires people because we think they might do good. And 99 times out of 100, we could be wrong, or we hire the wrong person. So number one, they have to have faith and confidence in themselves and that's probably the hardest sales job of all, right? To get them to sell them on themselves that they can go out and talk to strangers, that they can go out and earn a living at this, but they have to be able to do it faster. Not a lot of people are sitting on a pile of money where they can, you know, work themselves into it.
It feels like what you're telling is confidence. Confidence plays an important part of talking to somebody and knowing what to say. Could you talk a little bit about that, of knowing
Well,
what to say and
briefly,
how that
if you
builds
don't
your
have
confidence?
confidence in yourself and you're in front of a buyer or seller, they sense that. They're like animals, buyers and sellers. They can sense fear, right? And if you don't have confidence in yourself, them signing a contract with you is they have confidence and faith in you. You don't have it in yourself, you're done. So, someone that isn't a confident person, no chance in this business. No chance.
So you said the word script, and we hear this all the time. I just don't want to be scripted. I want to be myself. How would you respond to somebody like that?
We don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's no new, everyone that's been in coaching, right? You know this, you've heard it 1,000 times, right? There's no new objections, so learn the answers. There's only one new thing in our business. And I'd ask you, what's that one new thing, Michael? This is coaching, because we have to make them self-discover. But the only thing that's new in business is the communication and how people find us as agents. Everything else is the same. People are the same, so you talk to people the same. uh, Image, we're both dressed like professional real estate people, you know. Now, there's people that think, well, I don't need to do that. I don't need to dress like that. I don't need to know what to say. I'll just be myself. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay. Don't recreate the wheel. You want to be yourself, learn what to do first, and then be yourself.
Understand. Smart advice there. So when we talk with getting together with individuals, and everyone has different goals, could you talk a little bit about that? Because in dealing with highly successful people, they're always shooting for something. What's the difference between goal versus goal setting, for example?
Well, we all set goals. I mean, everything that we have today is based on a goal that we had set at one point or another that we put into action that lets us sit where we're at. What's a goal of a new person? Get a commission check, right? It's pretty basic, right? Pay the bills. Okay. So you go from rudimentary goals to upper level goals, like living in the best house you can live in, for instance, right? So
Absolutely.
there's thousands of books written about goal setting. No one has to argue the point for you should have goals. You know, if you don't get that, you're doomed in this business as well.
Uh,
And
Talk about that for a second, because I think, so many times when we get introduced to individuals, they walk in, they want to do 100 deals the first year. So some people believe that they overshoot the first year, but they undershoot what they can do in 5 years. What has been your experience with that thought?
no, that's pretty much it. They overshoot in the first year because in that first year, then they're smacked with reality. Reality sets in like whatever their fears are. All right. However, they handle rejection, which maybe they haven't experienced 100% yet. You know, so while they have grandiose plans, there's still a process. developing your real estate career is, you ever cook a turkey, a 20 or 25 pound turkey?
I've never cooked a turkey before.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, it takes about 4 or 5 hours. But while you're cooking the turkey, what else? So let's just say the turkey is, you know, a successful year in real estate selling for a first year person. 24 would be phenomenal. All right. That'd be a good year. All right.
Okay.
So that's the turkey. Well, what else you got to do for a turkey dinner?
You got to make the stuffing,
You got to
the
make
corn.
you got to make the stuff. Well, you got to go out and buy the stuffing. You got to prepare. You got to buy the stuffing, right? You got to buy all the side dishes, right? You got to set the table. In the turkey being the end product of everything that you set up for it. So, when we talk about scripting or practicing, we have to set the table. And in that first year, people don't know about setting the table, learning what to say, learning what to do, developing habits. And so, but if they're smart enough and they learn as they go, and hopefully they have a trusted real estate advisor slash mentor slash coach, the smart ones do. And I shouldn't say that the smart ones do. I mean, your target audience that will listen to this, they singing to the choir, right? In any industry, do they know, number one, that they need us, right? Do they know they have a problem, A, and that they need us slash coaching, right? B, can we provide the solution? B, can we provide the solution that they buy from us, right? Maybe that's C. And at the end, what is my target audience? Who is that? So if you've ever noticed how en masse that people buy coaching, for instance, I mean, Mike Ferry's been a genius at this. The Earl Nightingale, high development expert.
Talk a little about who Mike Ferry is, because I think there's a lot of people out there. We're from the East Coast. He's more prevalent on the West Coast. So talk a little about who Mike Ferry is and what he's done, because you've been a coach with him for how many years now?
Let's see, going on 13, maybe 14, somewhere in that range.
13
Well,
years.
this is
Wow.
where Mike and I met at a Mike Ferry coaching event. And Mike Ferry, the inventor, pioneer of real estate coaching, created the industry actually. And but what he does and what he's been doing was he identified high producing agents and how could he make them better. And he put a program together. He didn't just develop coaching, people asked for it, right? He went away and he made a challenge at an event one time and said, I should just have all you people call me once a week and have tell you what to do. And he came back after break and there were 80 cards on his chair and he said, "What is this?" And he said, "We want you to tell us what to do." And coaching was born. Okay. And so quite interesting, the development of it, but he's 50th year anniversary. By the way, he's going to have a big blowout in Las Vegas. If you were in coaching ever, you should go. And the main reason is this. Mike, how many people do you know in real estate that have sent you business or you sent them business from all across the US? And where did you meet them? Right?
At a Mike Ferry event. Matter of fact, I had an appointment on Friday from a gentleman from Hoboken who sent me a referral because we met at that event.
Yeah. And, you know, there's since Mike, there's 400 or so real estate coaching companies. Of the 490% of them are ex-Mike Ferry agents. So they've taken the best of Mike Ferry and then tried to develop their own. Look at the rules of baseball when Abner Doubleday invented it have changed a little bit since Jim Naismith invented basketball. They've changed a little bit. So people have made these changes, but the primary thing is, to know that this is a process and it's a growing process. And we have a famous saying, if you can remove your ego and let people coach you, and if you're coachable, then your investment in yourself will pay off. And that's a small target market of any industry, people who
So
want to be advanced.
you're not only coaching new people, you're coaching highly successful agents across the country and in Canada as well. What are some of the traits of some of these high producing agents that you help elevate them to the next level?
Well, number one is always that they're learning based. They always know that something better can be done. Number two is they're forgiving of their self. They don't beat themselves up when they make mistakes. They try to learn from their mistakes. They're consistent. They persevere in the face of you know, sometimes negativity. They're willing to be uncomfortable to learn things, to put themselves in different situations, which, again, we're in the people communication and image business. Those people understand those three main principles.
Yeah, I love to hear almost like a best sales story that you had with somebody along these lines.
Excuse me. I don't know if there's a best sales story, but there's some great stories, many great stories. And, one is actually about what you asked about, a new agent who, they wrote on their placement interview that they want to make 500,000. And as a coach, you're not going to say, you can't do 500,000. Who knows? Maybe they could, right? We're not here to crush their dream. We're here to help their dream. And so I said to him, how do you see yourself making 500,000? He goes, "Oh, no, no, that's not for this year. That's what I think a good income would be." Now this gentleman was in his mid 80 income, 86,000, I think. And when he hit 500,000 after 4 years, you know, it was from his building up, his accumulation effect in building his business base, or what we like to refer to as a COI. Mike, what does that mean, COI?
COI, I've heard that quite a bit. It's
Yeah.
centers of influence.
Mike calls it centers of influence. I like to call it center of income. All right.
Mm.
So in that center of income, he grew his list at $86,000 income from 250 to close to 1,300. And then his income at that point, about 8.5, 9 years later, was 1,300,000. So the process of learning, and I'll give this gentleman all the credit in the world. Just a great learner. He develop the number one skill of any high producing agent. And it's the number one skill, and it's
So
management.
in meeting with new agents all the time, even seasoned agents who've been in the industry 20 years, and we talk to them about building their business up. It's interesting. Most of them don't have a database. Most of them haven't taken the time to work on that database.
Sure.
Why?
Well, they were never introduced to it, number one. Or number two, they were never sold on the idea of it. There's certain personality styles that, oh, I don't want to bother, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to seem salespeople. And it's a personality style. I won't call it defect. It's a more of a trait. Okay. People think that salesperson's a dirty word, and they have to get over themselves with that, but they have to figure out how they provide value to people. So they will call if they've been introduced to it. But, you just can't say to some, look, it's the foundation of your business. You could take 10 real estate agents in the last 2 years, I don't care where you get them from, and ask where the majority of your business come from. COI, referral business. Yeah, that's because there wasn't other really steady streams of income like expired listings or for sale by owners. That there's some, but look, that's the center of our business, and people communication image business, and people who know you will do business with you if you contact them on a regular basis. So the people haven't been sold on it, or they were never introduced to it. And that's really the downfall, Mike, of today's industry, quite honestly. And I just say the lack of training, or the lack of being pointed in the right direction, which is okay because the smart ones will come to a coaching program sooner or later, and the light bulb will go on.
That's the interesting fact. So back in 2016 is when I was actually, I'm sorry, 2013, I was introduced to Mike Ferry. So that's how long I've been in the coaching. And it was interesting because, at that time I was doing 30 plus transactions a year. All of a sudden, these ideas that you are talking about here today, that propelled to where we're doing now 60, 70, plus deals a year personally. And it's all about implementing these ideas, and paying attention to the analytics or the numbers. And I want to talk to you about that too. It seems like businesses are really tied to numbers. And again, our industry doesn't pay too close attention to that. Could you expand on that?
Well, personally speaking, you know, most people who get in real estate aren't business people. They haven't had a sales job, a direct sales job. They've never had anyone looking over their shoulder or holding them accountable to do what they're supposed to do. And none of those things have changed. We don't treat our businesses like a business because of those dilemmas, all right, or those challenges. Like they say, nothing's changed in real estate, nothing's changed. And so when people don't track their numbers, then they don't know how close to their goal they are or how far away they are, right? Mike Ferry, he's figured out the presentation style on the stage. He's figured out what a percent of his audience is in coaching, what isn't, what their likelihood of selling contracts are, because they're a sales organization, right? Every coaching company is a sales organization. And so the ones that know their numbers, and Mike's known his numbers now for 50 years.
It's interesting, yeah, that the metrics, the numbers, they all matter in any business that you are looking into. So in real estate, what are some of the numbers someone should be looking at to really achieve a high level of success?
Okay. It's fun you ask. I just had this call with somebody.
Okay.
He kept referring to the volume of his deals. I got roughly 6 million volume pending. Okay, what does that mean in your pocket? 6 million in volume at 1% isn't the same as 6 million in volume at 2%. Is that one deal or two deals? Well, that's my average size deal. Okay, if that's your average size deal. So how about instead of focusing on volume, because 36 million sounds like a lot, sounds like I don't have to go to work tomorrow. But
Right.
if you said six, right? Because that's what in unit wise. So Mike Ferry was the first one actually got people to focus on transaction number, focus on the number, the results and the process, the results are a byproduct of the process.
So what you're saying is, how can you duplicate what you've been doing over the last so many years, or is what you're doing duplicatable?
Well, that's the whole goal. Where's your business coming from? What did you do to get it? That should be duplicatable, right? So when you break down your stream of income, what was duplicatable, what wasn't? So, famous one, Mike, we've been around, we went to college for this. We have so many old traditions in this business, right? And Mike has always battled the slings and arrows. One of the oldest traditions in the business is open houses. And we could go all night about open houses, right? But is that duplicatable? And the absolute answer is no, right? You could do open houses in Florida right now, and the market is flooded with listings, and the market's kind of declining if they haven't figured that out. They know that. But an open house there wouldn't be the same as being on Long Island and instead of having an inventory in your town of 50, you have an inventory in your town of 7. you know, Buyers, even though they search online, they still don't believe their agent. Hey, there's nothing on the market. They go driving around. There might be a better opportunity in Long Island than Florida, but that doesn't still mean that it's duplicatable year in, year out.
So someone
That
someone
makes sense.
joined.
That kind of confusion on that one.
No, no, 100%, 100%. So someone joins you, Tim, and you start coaching them. From a coaching perspective, someone wants to improve. What's a realistic number that someone should be improving, whether it's income driven or transaction driven?
Well, Michael, are they a new agent? They experienced agent? How big is their COI? I don't know that we can give a number. I don't know that you can give a number because also everyone has filters and there's 4 basic personality styles that everyone in coaching or has been coached knows: amiable, driver, analytical, expressive, and they all filter information differently. So how fast are they going to believe you? Just because you say you're a coach, listen to me, I know what to do, right? That doesn't, they're going to filter your information. So how fast, how coachable somebody is determines how fast and how much time they put in. Like where I was going earlier, Earl Nightingale said an hour of study a day, 5 days a week will make you an expert in your field in 3 years. Within 5 years, you'll be a national authority. In 7 years, you'll be a international authority, right? So
Absolutely.
how much time does someone put into practice, right? How much time do they put into studying their craft? Have they determined that it's a career and not a job?
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you about that.
Oh, it's a moving target. So the answer is, I don't know, Mike.
Okay. So it's so funny. Like, you always hear someone come into real estate or any entrepreneurship, and they do it because they want their time back, or they're doing it to have their own schedule. In your experience, if someone's brand new in this business, do they treat it like a job, or how should they be approaching their day?
Well, that's a
That
great
you've seen
question.
from the successful people, and you've spoken to not only realtors, you've spoken to highly successful business owners as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, when you ask them a series of questions like, what are you going to do with the other time? How much time are you going to devote to real estate? This is really a great question for today because everyone, it seems like, has to have a side hustle. You know, they don't know that you can make a whole career if you dive in the pool and immerse yourself and learn and go out and be consistent and work. Um, so it's a confusing question.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, well,
What, well,
so
you tell
so
me your experience with it.
I think experience with it has been the most successful people that I've been around, whether it's a business owner, entrepreneur, you name it, they're starting their day fairly early. And fairly early matters. Getting to the office, it's interesting. I get to the office about 7 a.m. And everybody that I talk to, that seems to be about between 7:30, they're at the office. And their day started before that. Their day started the night before in planning what they were going to do. So they actually had a game plan in mind of how to start the day.
Now I'm going to tell you the truth to that answer that you asked me. I have someone like that says, I want to have my own time. I say, there's an ancient Chinese proverb, the eagle spying two rabbits usually comes up with neither. And so, Mr. I want to have my own schedule. Uh, there's another company down the street. You can go work for them. You know, uh, Mike put this out a long time ago. He said, as a broker, you shouldn't hire new people because the fallout rate is so much. And, for many other reasons, there's a better usage of your time. And I still hold to that, even more so now than ever. I don't want somebody that is brand new, that has had no sales experience. And then they want to top it off with saying, I want my schedule to be my own. Good luck. I'm willing to lose that one or two transactions a year from that agent. you know. But look, our industry's been founded on that. You know, we're a dues collecting
So Tim,
organization.
talk about that, because so many brokers will just hire just anybody. And you talk to individuals, they don't even understand the value of the coach versus the value of the brokerage that you're with. So people that are hiring you, that means they're working for other brokerages. So why are they hiring you versus just getting that information from their company?
That was Mike having a conversation, by the way, with the Century 21 chairman of the board when he was retiring. And he said to him, Mike, he's in his office smoking a cigar. How'd you make a living anyway, all these years? He said, by doing what you told people you were going to do, which is train them, which you don't. And the chairman said, brilliant, brilliant. That's it, right? Here's the thing. Most brokers are great maybe they were good agents, maybe they're not, but they want to go out on their own, but maybe they've never been trained. Maybe they had some money, they went out because they had their own money. There's an example. They went out, they got mad at their broker, and they figured I can do it better. So they started their own company. There's another example. Uh, but they never were trained. They were never told about their COI, Mike, right? They just went out and made sales, right? And you can look at the brokers who have opened up around you and some of them who have closed around you, and you can see, well, why do 95% of all businesses fold in less than 3 years?
Well, I have no idea.
No, undercapitalization. They run out of money, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because they never had a plan. They never were realistic. They don't know it in our business. They're not business people generally. When you run into someone who's a business person, that's a broker.
How would you define that difference between a broker and versus their sales staff, which are independent contractors? How do they hold them accountable? Because accountability seems to be a big word that I hear in talking to different people
Sure.
who are successful as well.
Yeah, well, it goes back to they don't hold them accountable and they'll hire anybody, right? So you have that type of brokerage. Ones that hold them accountable, I'll give you an example. The brokerage I started with, they had a training program that was 105 hours. So it was spread over 3 days a week. And they had various agents from the company teach the various sections. Now, that was the only company that had training in the area. But the thing was, if you didn't go to 103 of the 105 hours, if you didn't go to 103 of the hours, you didn't graduate from their training program and you could go work somewhere else. And you were happy to do that for a 50-50 split. Is that why you called me a dinosaur? I used to have a 50-50 split. You can't find a 50-50 split today.
No.
Anyway, so they do it holding their agents accountable through providing value, right? What are you
So
learning? You
So,
know,
from a leadership perspective and from a coaching, because again, I respect you and truly believe that you are an incredible um, coach. You're able to push somebody, you're able to hold them accountable. And how would you, I mean, what is your thought process when you do hold somebody accountable? How are you going about and making that confrontation where the other person recognizes that there's value in what you're saying and versus that guy's an idiot.
well, yeah, asked a great question there, first of all, because you said confrontation, and people think it's confrontation. Confrontation is nothing more than asking questions, right? They may not like the question, they may not like the answer they have to give, but it's not about getting in someone's face and yelling at them or turning beet red. It's just simply how do you get to change people's behaviors by asking them questions about the behaviors that they're taking and if they're in line with what they told you. Mike, you told me you were going to call 30 people this week and you only called 20. What happened?
Um, Tim, I got sidetracked.
Everyone gets sidetracked.
I had a closing, I had an inspection, I had to go pick my kids up from school.
Okay. So what you're telling me is we got to work on your schedule because it seems like you like to use those things as excuses of why you couldn't do your income producing activities. So let's work at one at a time. Home inspections. You're going on home inspections? We don't want to open up that can of worms. But really all it is about asking questions and seeing if that's in line with what they're trying to do. There's two types of accountability. External, that's me saying, Michael, why didn't you do what you're supposed to do? You said you were going to. You seem like an honorable person. I anticipate you didn't plan on lying to me, did you? No, so you really meant to do it. So how about this next week? Don't tell me anything you're not going to do, Michael. So what are you going to do?
Gonna make those 30 contacts. Yeah.
Okay, well, those are just questions, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
internal, external accountability. So you can apply external accountability. It's funny because we're talking about this as coaches right now. It's a conversation in a mastermind group. That gets you going, right? It's like motivation, right? Motivation gets you going, habit keeps you going. internal accountability is what everyone has to develop. And if you can get people to acquire internal accountability or grow the internal accountability that they already have, then those are the people who are, the unicorns in this business, right? The
Understand.
outliers.
One of the great things that you said to me was to learn something, you had to develop three anchors to that one learned activity. And I think a lot of great individuals have that approach. Could you talk about that for a second? Because I thought that was a valuable lesson that you taught me, and because you and I talk quite frequently about thoughts and ideas, and you know,
Well, first
uh,
of all, I got to thank you for all these nice, wonderful compliments that you're paying me. Stop it, knock it off, don't do it. No, what we talk about, and I learned it at a soccer coaching clinic. Probably something, that is good for most people if they're coaching in other aspects. Go to try learn more of what you're doing. So I went to a soccer coaching clinic, and they said for every outcome goal you have, you should have three performance goals. You should have three performance goals, right, to support that outcome goal. And so if your outcome goal is, let's say, a better listing presentation, what could three performance goals be, Michael?
for every outcome. So you want the listing
I want to have a
presentation.
better listing presentation.
So you've got to practice.
Oh, that's a good one. Practice.
You actually have to have a presentation.
How about just write your presentation down and read it to them? Yeah, I like that.
Right.
Very good. What else?
Um, dress to impress.
Yeah, dress. All three great ideas. When are we going to start that? Right? So in any goal setting, and again, whatever it is, little, small, having supporting underlying goals. I think there's a book written out there about there. Something about pillars.
Well, it's so funny that how you break it out just like that. I think sometimes our business really is simple. It's just not easy. And if you don't have somebody who really sees those simplicities that you're missing, it really stops you from moving forward and having a great career. I mean, for you to be in real estate for since 89, been a coach with Mike since what, 2003?
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah, 2003. I mean, that's amazing. That means you love what you do. That means you are successful and you've thrived in this industry, and it really has that chance to, everyone has that same chance that you have of
Well,
being this success.
being this is the winner's code, part of the code, and what I've been lucky enough to do is to learn from some of the great coaches, right? Past, present, and future, right? I get to be around high producing agents. I've had a lot of interaction, and I'm an accumulation of all the good things that I've learned from people like yourself. Your strength is as a people person, right? You like to engage people. If people took half of the energy that you have in engaging people, right? You're fearless in engagement, and that's three-quarters of our battle, engaging people. They could take that one aspect from you and learn a lot.
Well, thank you. Now you got me blushing. Well,
Well,
we're gonna wrap up, Tim. And a lot of
that's
times
the
when
end
I
of my
wrap
list,
up,
Mike. I'm sorry. That's the end of my list I have on you, but
thank you for taking the time, and always want to get some thoughts about somebody. But I think reading is another aspect that many of the top individuals do. So, what's been your favorite book?
favorite book. Wow. What kind of book?
Doesn't matter.
Military history? I mean, spiritual? You name it.
What
I
has
mean,
impacted you the most in life that has
I knew
driven
you
you
were
to
going
be
to ask
more
that.
successful?
Here's a book that's been sitting on my desk, I don't know, 5, 6 years.
Okay.
And it's got some positive thought or quote on it for every day of the year, right? And so I don't look at it every day. I've always been a firm believer. The best thing that I ever read getting into real estate was a pamphlet that was in a seller's house. It was called 10 Minutes a Day to a Better Way. It was Norman Vincent Peale, and
Okay.
it had a lot of biblical, faith affirmations that, hey, anything that will help, right? Anything that you think will help, will help. And so that's when we started with positive affirmations long before I was introduced to Mike, not just empty words, right? Things that
Right.
you said to yourself, but that little book there. So I'll open up a page on a particular day and it'll be so funny that, that day matches what I'm doing that day. Unbelievable.
I, we've never talked about that book. I'm going to go out and get that book today.
What's today's date? The 12th?
Yes. No, yes, 312. Yes, correct.
Let me see if the test is accurate here. March 12th. The moral of the story. Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it. What's the moral of the story, Mike? We're searching for it, right? We think we have the code. Well, here's what we have a good amount of the code, right? And everyone has to untap the code in their way. The quicker they can get there, though, the better. And really, the answer is learning from other people. And, whoever's listening to this, and thank you for those people for taking the time. Hopefully, they got something good out of this, right? Uh, but that's really the secret is learning on the go. You don't learn sitting at your desk. You learn out in the field.
No question, Tim. And being around you, what I've heard from people that you coach and the people who are successful, they take this time frame and they really shorten it to a much shorter time frame by learning, by understanding where success comes from. And we'll end it with this. I heard this one time and I thought this was a great statement. You want to get somewhere, ask those who are coming back. I think that's an old Chinese proverb.
That's right.
You got to learn the lessons from someone who's been there before. And that's something that's always great about being around someone like yourself, some of the top achievers in the industry, coaching, business, sports. Talk to them. They
Well,
want to help you out.
we'll leave it with one more Chinese saying, right? Or ancient proverb, right? And because we're all, not we're all, people at the highest levels can attest to this. You want something long enough, you won't. I like the thought bubble. You were actually
That's a deep thought after 40 minutes of a conversation.
you were actually accessing the deepest part of your brains. I like that. That's great.
Well, Tim, thank you again. You've been a friend, a mentor, a coach, and again, more importantly, friend. You're somebody who I really aspire to be and look up to. And thank you again for taking out your valuable time today. All right.
Mike, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the accolades. Hopefully, I
right.
can earn them
Absolutely do. Thank you,
every
Tim.
day.
Bye.